Thank you. Welcome to the world headquarters of Euclid Ebenezer Training, broadcasting from somewhere partially underground on this continent. Tonight I entitle this teaching, and I'm starting a new series called Scrolls. And so this is the title of this is Scroll 1, Deuteronomy 34:6, Moses. So let's open up the Bible to Deuteronomy chapter 34, verse 6. And the Lord buried Moses in a valley in the land of Moab over against Beth Peor, but no one knoweth of the sepulchre unto this day. There was a TV show I've watched once in a while on Christian TV, TCT. It's called Ancient Jewish Wisdom, Rabbi Daniel Lapin. And he's not a Christian, but some of his shows, he has some real in-depth on the Hebrew language and history, and it's just fascinating because that's what Christians have done, is appropriated, from the Old Testament. So he did one, and he didn't do a full show on this verse, but he talked about this verse. And in the almost 5 decades I've been in this thing called the church, that's the first time I ever remember anybody talking on this verse. So here is my take on it. The phrase, and the Lord buried Moses. I read 12 commentaries on this verse, and I picked one to kind of give a general feeling on this verse. This author was saying, the commentator, the burial of Moses by the Lord is not intended to conceal the grave or guard against idolatrous reference. And some other people say something a little different, but kind of agree with both, but I don't know enough about the topic to really disagree with anybody. We may infer from the account of the transfiguration of Jesus, the intention was to place Moses in the same category as Enoch and Elijah. The great Enoch in Genesis 5:24, God took him. In the Greek Old Testament Septuagint, and the Septuagint I have has an English translation, and in that English translation on this verse, on that phrase, it says God translated him. 2 Kings 2:11, Elijah is taken by a whirlwind and a chariot of fire. So in here in Deuteronomy 34:6, Moses is buried by the Lord. So you can say that these 3 individuals have died in a way that I can't see anybody else having died that way. Really unique. And then another verse to add into all this is in the book of Revelation, Revelation 11:3, where the 2 witnesses during the Great Tribulation. Some people feel, or most people who believe this about these being the 2 witnesses, Enoch, Elijah, or Moses, 2 of these 3. Some say Moses didn't fulfill his ministry on earth. Other people argue for Enoch and Elijah. And so Deuteronomy 34:6 is connected to Genesis 5:24, 2 Kings 2:11, Jude 9, Mark 9:2, the Great Transfiguration, and then Revelation 11:3. And then a phrase in Deuteronomy 34:6, in a valley in the land of Moab over against Beth Peor. Now, this gets a little confusing in the King James Bible. Beth Peor, Baal Peor, Peor. So I think I kind of got it figured out. So the word Beth is a Hebrew word for Baal, or the abbreviation of Baal Peor. Beth, house of Peor, temple of Baal Peor. Peor alone is the idol statue of Peor. Commentary says, ancient high place in Moab dedicated to the service of Baal, described as looking into the face of Jes-Imon, which is a wilderness area. Baal Peor, or Lord of Peor. Some of the commentaries say of worship by obscene rites. Filthy in extreme, sexual, in another commentary, involved in both public exposure and excrement, human waste. And maybe this is where we get the phrase holy fill in the blank from. Seriously, I don't know. So in Deuteronomy 34:6, the word against in the King James, translated opposite, is the Hebrew word, Strong's word 4136, mold, or a commentary says in front of. So, what does all this mean? The Lord himself bearing Moses. My commentary is, and I'm not 100% sure, but I'm thinking this, I'm thinking, hoping I'm pretty close, because my Hebrew isn't that good, and my history in the Old Testament isn't as good as in the New Testament, but I'm trying anyways. So, in September 10th, 2017, Baker Mayfield's a quarterback of Oklahoma University. Oklahoma had just upset Ohio State, and they're at Ohio State. So he takes an Oklahoma flag, and he's just has an attitude and in a mood. And he goes to the O in Ohio on the field, and he sticks that flag right in the middle of it. So in Ephesians 4:9 is the great triumph. And when Paul was writing, I believe in those verses there, he was thinking of the Roman triumph coming in with the parade. And those verses there were taking up that thought. I have another YouTube channel. You have to put it in a certain way. You won't get to it anymore. Orthotomea, ORTHOTOMEHO, the masked preacher. You have to put all that in. I have 5 I did on Ephesians. Ephesians 4:11, another one Ephesians, another one Grow Up, Ephesians 4:1-16, another one Don't Be Deceived, and the distributor cap. Let's go to Philippians chapter 2, verses 10 and 11. At the name of Jesus, every knee shall bow, of things in heaven and things in earth and things under the earth, and that every tongue should confess that Jesus Christ is Lord, to the glory of God the Father. So these events, these verses I read, to me is a kind of in your face to the other side, and in 1 Corinthians 3:13 too, along with Philippians 2:10 and 11, is this planting a flag in enemy's territory. So, a comment I have, so when people are coming to worship of this false god, they know that the great Moses, a type of Jesus, he led the God's people through the Red Sea, Exodus 14:13. They were saved by that. Today it's Jesus being saved, Romans 3:25 and 1 John 1:9. So demonized people can't find the tomb of Moses to remind them of the defeat or to destroy it. But they believe that Moses was there. And life is kind of funny because most religious people would look at this verse and just go on and not think about, oh, this is a pretty serious verse. And I've been most of my Christian culture, I don't remember anyone getting excited and saying, we need to try to understand this. But demonized people, chock full of demons in their brain, believe this is a big deal. James 2:19. Thou believest there is one God. Thou dost well. The devils also believe and tremble. The word there is the Strong's word 4100, pistule, which means absolutely no doubt. So the devils, when they're doing their actions, they have absolutely no doubt what they're doing. We look at that verse, I don't know, maybe we take it or leave it. But they aren't that way. The word tremble here in the King James is prisio, to bristle, to raise your head and show, the Strong's uses the word bristle, but the dictionary, to explain bristle, to raise head and show anger or defiance as a person bristles up. So going back to the Strong's, to chill, to shudder with fear. So the demons do more than believe a fact. One commentary says, they shudder at it. So, and they shudder at where Moses is buried. Jude 19 talks about the archangel Michael contending with the devil, Satan, over the body of Moses. Commentary on this: I have always believed that the contention, in fact a struggle, was for Moses' body. Satan resisted his resurrection. He was at the transfiguration in Mark 2. He appeared in glory. And we don't not know how what this exactly was, that this event, this transfigured figure of this Moses that they're seeing, the spirit of Moses, or whatever it was. This verse, Jude 19, reminds me of the scene in Return of the Jedi towards the beginning. Vader comes to this Death Star, and the general comes out to greet him, and he says, we need more people here to help us. And Vader says, and this scene is a plug for little quiet things. There was no big battle action there and no excitement. It was just a quiet scene of two evil guys having a quiet conversation. And it just so memorable. It was that whoever wrote that script, they deserve some kind of reward because it was just so great. So Vader says, perhaps you could tell them yourself. And the guy, he starts to stutter and tremble. The Emperor's coming here? Yes, and he's most displeased with your apparent lack of progress. We'll double our efforts. And Vader says, I hope so for your sake. The Emperor is not as forgiving as I am. So, tell you that little story because this was so important to Satan. and Satan can only be in one place at one time, that he felt a need to do this himself. I'm handling this. And he didn't send a territorial demon like in Daniel 10:13. So I have a question. If this verse is that important to the Lord and to the other side, shouldn't pastors at least try once in a while to teach this? And if you just attend a church, maybe you should ask. And if your pastor doesn't want to study that verse, then you're responsible to study that verse. Lord, I pray for everyone who views this, and I don't claim to know everything here with all the different details, but I have spent a lot of time reading commentaries online, trying to get a handle on the history of all this. But my conclusion is a simple conclusion. This is an important verse, because if an archangel and the other guy are both fighting over this, we should at least talk about it. And I pray that you would deal with pastors and convict them that this is important. They don't have to pray about it because it's in the Bible. They need to, at some point, somewhere, deal with this. And individuals, if their pastor won't do it, I pray that you would put a seed in people's hearts to research this and try to take a look at this important verse. Signing off from somewhere partially underground, Euclid Ebenezer Trainer bids you good night.